So yeah, I actually might try a bit more with reading these. But yeah, let's get into part one of this. So besides, like I said before, it might be hard. I do like this. And there is going to be more this because all of these are sort of like free stories in one. It's like basically, here's a free Potter. So I actually might try and start reading them a bit more, at least the way that I did before. In a weird way. At least one part a week. So within a week I might read a quarter of, within sort of like the days, I might read 1/4 each. Because one, I actually think reading might be important and I need to probably focus on that. My language skills are not great. And two, legitimately I do want to read these. I just keep being like, I could do it later, and later never comes. So I bought these to read them and I haven't read them. So I'm legitimately being like, read. So yeah. But let's get into the main thing. So yeah. So you have 3 books. Not 3 books, 3 stories, which is Into the Pit, To Be Beautiful, and Count the Ways. So how I'm going to talk about them, because unlike most stuff, spoiler-wise, here's how it's overall. But these are 3 stories in 1 book. So Into the Pit is only the first story. I like that one. It's not my favourite. Out of the book, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's Into the Pit. I legitimately, because of how it's structured, out of the 3 books in the first one, Count the Ways, I think, is interesting. But let's get into each one. Into the Pit. It's simple. It's really good, and I think it's gone a lot of places. I'm not going to talk about the game version. I know a bit about it, but I'm going to completely ignore it while I'm talking about the book version. Because one, I know of it, but I haven't played it, so I don't think that's fair. And two, it is a bit different to the book. The book, like, it describes him, like, going to meet his friends, like, having this sort of, like, chat with them, which is, like, really interesting, going to the bars and doing that stuff. I don't know why, but it reminded me of sort of, like, the Creeped Out episode, if you know what I mean. Like, he goes in, obviously, he doesn't know the younger version, and, like, Creeped Out. Creeped Out is, like, he fully, like, I'm just gonna go back and, like, and hang with my father as a son, and, like, just have that. But overall, I do think it's interesting. Like, he goes, does this thing, and, like, has this. And that situation is interesting, him going to, like, in the book, him going to some friends in the past, and actually dealing with it. And when they go to the future, and you have the whole scene with that, it's dark. And at the very end, being like, having the sort of like, it's like, you forgot your soda. It's like, wait a sec, I'm just gonna... Because I think it's slightly implied that sort of like, oh, it's not over. Not yet. Which is so insane. Then, when you have the second one, which is Annabelle. Don't worry, we'll open this eventually. 12 years later. To Be Beautiful, I think is also good. Because I like the idea of To Be Beautiful is this look into someone who's being like, to be beautiful. And like having this standard of like beauty that someone has, I think is interesting. Obviously, the book's about them trying to become this beauty, this... So, I know this is not a perfect analogy, but it is the wherever I view it, this Heathers type level of beauty. I know it's not an actual character in the book, I'm just using this as an analogy like I used the other thing. This like figure of beauty, and obviously slowly she becomes better and better and losing friends, and when it becomes too late, it becomes so dark that she basically loses everything. The amount of like, this story has been talked about because I think this is one of the things was like, the first thing I've sort of talked about the sound discs, because I don't think they were fully acknowledged. There was some like stuff, but it wasn't acknowledged until this book saying stuff about the sound discs. I think that or sister location. I don't know which one came first. I think it's sister location and then this and made it more powerful of how it was. I'm not entirely too sure. I know FNAF lore, but sometimes I don't know which order it is. And then my favourite, Count the Ways. The one thing with this is Into the Pit and sort of just, I always keep forgetting what it is. Into the Pit and To Be Beautiful sort of adds to the FNAF lore in a way. So both of those are talked about a bit, because Into the Pit talks about the different ways that someone shows one, if you, I know it's not the book version, but technically somewhat counts, is like if you believe the game theory version of the game is like that is connected to one of the previously like group of like Mike Williams' older son's friends who put the younger son in the thing. But even then you can deal with like that deals with going back to the murders. To Be Beautiful deals with the sound discs and developing them and how they could be useful in those ways. Count Your Ways doesn't do anything. It doesn't really add lore, but more it deals with a more individual case, which is basically one person going to something, and at some point sort of counting the ways to end it all, fitting how it's the end of the book. And at the end I was like, do you know what, I'm hopeful she's gonna go through it, she dies. That's why I like the book, that's why I like the story, not because she dies. That makes me sound like a psychopath. Jesus. Bad money. But more specifically, because like you could have just had a safe thing of like, do you know what, maybe my life is worth it. And they do this whole thing. I'm like, no, it's over. It's done. It fully is. But it shows someone who sometimes there isn't anything else. So, it's dark. It's fully dark. I get it. That's what I like. Because some of the other FNAF stories that are coming up, I have just read just the first couple of bits of the one of the dog, which is also the thing. Cut it out myself, but I am just going to take it out because it does actually lead well to this. So I think that's just, I take that as a really good coincidence and just roll with it. That's what I like about his books. Because with the other ones, it's like, you get a similar thing. Into the Pit doesn't end too well. Maybe Jeff's being taken over. It's kind of a player like the soda line's kind of like, something's odd here. And To Be Beautiful kind of deals with her taking off the necklace, which sort of like this, I think, because there's a whole thing about the books being canon, and I'm not a theorist, but it's like that ends. But sometimes dark books can be interesting because it shines a light on certain levels of darkness. So yeah. Captain America. We're going to do this one tomorrow. So yeah, I hope you enjoy, and good night. And sorry for this episode getting really dark. These books are like that. But yeah, good night.